Welcome, college basketball fans, to the Full Court Press Podcast with LT and Sammy D. This is the podcast that brings you legendary stories from college basketball's golden era and dives in deep with a current analysis of today's game. Get ready for the most energetic and entertaining college basketball podcast around. Let's get it.
Sammy, we continue on our quest here on the Full Court Press Podcast, a college basketball experience by covering every single college basketball conference. There's 31 this week. Who knows how many is going to be next week, but we're going to go west, young fellow. We're going west to the Big Sky.
One of my favorite conferences. I mean, it's like you never know who's going to pop up at the end of the regular season, and then the Big Sky Conference. It's one of the more competitive conference tournaments, and that's hard to say because they're all competitive. But it's And they've
also had some primetime players, baby.
Pretty incredible, yeah. And I mean, the two coaches we have on representing the Big Sky. I mean, they're the guys who are bringing these primetime players into the conference year after year.
Yeah. So we've got returning guests from Northern Colorado, the UNC Bears, not the Tar Heels, the Bears. We got Coach Stephen Smiley, and a first-time guest, the Wildcats, Weber State. Coach Duft, welcome to the Full Court Press Podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me. Yeah, it should be a lot of fun today.
Yeah. Is it Weber State or Weber State?
It's Weber.
Yeah, I'm just making sure. Just making sure you're not frozen there, Coach. So you had a guy, Coach Duff, last year. You lost Dylan Jones, who was first-round pick. How the hell did you get him to come back?
Well, I mean, we really didn't do very much, to be honest with you. He came in his junior year a couple weeks before the season was going to finish, actually. He came in, said, hey, can I meet with you? I said, sure. He came in. He said, hey, just no matter what happens, I'm not transferring. So we never worried about that. And he would even bring us messages from different people where I won't mention the schools, but he had schools trying to poach him and offer him all kinds of money. And he never wavered. And so we never worried about that. We did worry that he was going to stay in the draft after his junior year because the Thunder told him that they would take him with their second round pick late in the draft. So we were worried about that, but then he wanted to be a first rounder and decided to come back.
Yep. But you look, you're gonna have got you got the Brit back, Alex too, and then Coach Smiley.
Yeah.
How about them Bears?
How about the Bears?
The Bears won this weekend for once.
What's that?
The Chicago Bears won for once.
That's a valid point. Yeah, I don't follow the Chicago Bears as much as the UNC Bears. But you are right. The Chicago Bears did win this weekend.
Coach Smiley, what have you been up to kind of this summer? I mean, you guys don't have off seasons anymore as head coaches. Not that you ever had a big one, but it's like, I mean, like you guys are just nonstop week after week.
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of the last sort of protected time left in our world is maybe a little bit of August. But yeah, I mean, after the season, obviously, just it takes so much longer now to finish out your roster. So we brought in 9 new guys, and they were all spring recruits. Nobody in the fall last year. We didn't bring any visits, any recruits, and so we brought in 9 in the springtime, which pushes everything back. And we really start school and camp season like June 1st, and so that doesn't mean you have to have your roster there, but I certainly would like to get it there. So there's a lot of scramble to get to June 1st. Then it's camp season and workouts and things like that. Saw Coach Duft on the road multiple times recruiting, but also, his son and my son know each other. We got to hang out in Rock Hill, South Carolina at the NCAA Academy. So that pushed all the way to late July. And I said about the only protected time left is just a little bit in August. So until we got to that point, it was a lot of work. But again, it's something we love to do.
Yeah.
How are those? How are the summer workouts? I mean, what's it like bringing 9 new guys in? I mean, I feel like this is kind of a consistent with really good mid-major programs, because it's like you build really strong players and then it's re-recruitment and then filling the spots, in that spring, early summer. So what was that summer like in those sessions?
Well, it's 9 new guys, but the other thing is it's 7 returners, and it's like 4 guys that we have basically 4 guys that played a ton of minutes for us, including 3 starters. With Jaron Riley and Zach Block and Brock Wisney, who we think are good players, and then Langston Reynolds, who, started a couple games. And really in our last couple games in our postseason, the CBI, he was probably our best player in that game. So, yeah, we have 9 new players. We brought back some experience too. And that's what we're excited about, that we love our recruiting class, but at the same point, having some retention has also helped as well. Just like Coach Duff was mentioning with Dylan Jones, when you get good players come back, it really helps out. So it's been good, but yeah, 9 new guys. All summer the phrase was ABCs, not XYZs. And so just trying to slow down and teach our basics. And that's not easy for me to do because I want to get on to the next thing, but just trying to slow down and get the brick and mortar in a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. What about for you, Coach Duff? What was the summer like for you?
Yeah, very similar. I think we had 3 returning starters as well. We had also Viliame Vertainen, who played a lot for us as a freshman back. Marco Saranash, but both Viliame and Marco were with their national teams. Marco's with their Serbian U20 team in the European Championships, and Viliame was with Finland. So we didn't really get those guys back until late July. It's part of it. You recruit international. Those guys need to play on their national teams, and we want them to do that. But we had a couple weeks there where we got everybody together, and probably like Steve, really kind of got back to some basic things. And last year we had so many guys returning, but we slowed down a little bit this summer as well, and spent a lot of time on offense, which was different for us because we had spent the last couple of years most of the time defensively. But I think it was a good summer. We got a good group, and love the energy and the connection we have with these guys, and we'll see where it all goes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting just doing some research on the Big Sky and following it. We try to follow all college basketball. And Eastern Washington, the Eagles were the top dog last year at 15-3, lost their coach, brought in a coach, which was interesting, Don Monsoon, who got fired in Long Beach State. And they were kind of like one of the little Cinderella stories somewhat, and they made the NCAA tournament. So what do you guys expect from this league with kind of a lot of turnover this past year?
Go ahead, Coach Duff.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was
Coach Duff. He doesn't want to answer the question.
Yeah. Well, I'll answer it like this. I was sitting with Travis DeCure this summer, and we were talking about the league and talking about who was going to be good, and we just came to the conclusion we have no idea. There's so many new players with each team that I've just kind of gone with the assumption everybody's going to be good, everybody's going to have good players. With all the extra COVID guys, there's plenty of good players to go around. Even teams that lost a lot of maybe some key guys. I mean, there's good players in the transfer portal all the way till July and August. And so I'm just assuming most teams are going to have good players. There's good coaching in the league. And we'll just have to see where it shakes out because I think it's really hard to predict.
Yeah.
Coach Smiley, let me transition the question kind of to what Coach Duff said. You don't know finished rosters until August, and even what some of your competition's putting together. Where's the balance of putting your own roster and schedule together, which is a completely different story, and then also keeping up with what else is going on in the conference?
Yeah, I think first of all, the people that have to do preseason predictions, I feel bad for all those people because none of us really know. I mean, you even look at our league in the last 3 years, and not that it's been completely off base, but there's been a lot of discrepancy in the preseason, the postseason, and even trying to pick all league teams, because what usually happens is those all league teams get picked based off of who the returning players are. But as Coach Duff mentioned, there's so many new good players in the league that we don't even know about yet, that who knows at the end of the day. Yeah, I think you focus on your own roster, and then you mentioned your schedule. So many of us in our league's really unique that we all have such different scheduling kind of guidelines or, kind of barriers. And I was at Weber with Coach Duff. We were assistants for Randy Ray. And so, learned it from there. And Coach Duff did the scheduling at that point in time. And then here, every spot is just different, whether it's, you got to go play different money games. How many non-Division I teams do you bring in? Can you get home games? How much? Every team in our league is so different. That it makes it really hard to compare schedules in the league, I think. But you try to do the best you can based off of what your school's guidelines are, in terms of scheduling. And then I think the last piece is worrying about what everyone else has. Because, again, you always tell it to your guys, hey, let's just focus on us. But really, in today's world, it's never been truer than just focus on us, because you have no clue right now what the other teams have. And it is fun once the games begin in November in the non-conference to kind of at least, follow around a little bit what the other teams are doing and who's playing well. And so that when you do play league play in late December, January, or whatever, that now, you have a little bit idea. But right now I have, like Coach Duft, I have no idea.
So what are you looking for in the non-conference schedule? I mean, you've got Colorado, Washington State, Texas Tech. I mean, it's a really hard non-conference schedule, which is hard to put together, first of all. But as you're going into this non-conference schedule, like, what are you looking for early on in the season?
Yeah, I think just balance. And I think for us, like, we've finished our schedule with 6 home games, 6 road games, 1 neutral game. And that's the best balance that we've ever had. There could be years where you have like 4 home and 9 road. So, you look at it again, like, do you have to raise some money? You have to play some money games. And obviously you look at some of those teams, and those are probably money games as they call them. And then, you try to get a couple non-Division I home games in there. And then the hardest thing is the true Division I like level opponent. And that's one thing our league's done a good job of is this Big Sky Summit Challenge, that we know that we get one comparable, level team at home and on the road. And you have no control over who you get in those leagues, and they don't either. But, for us, for every time you got to go play, at Texas Tech or at CU or whatever it is, to have some parity and some balance, it really helps out. Because I do think that if you play too hard of a schedule, sometimes you're forced to. But if you do, you might walk in the league, play with a pretty good team, but that team doesn't think they're good because they've lost too many games. And so it's a fine line, and it's really a science and an art. And actually, I learned a lot of that from Coach Duft, kind of watching how he was scheduling back in the day.
Yeah. Coach Duff, it sounds like he needs help. He wants you to do his schedule for him too.
Yeah, I tried like crazy to give Steve the job when he was here. He wouldn't take it. I think scheduling coordinator is by far the worst job on the staff. And
it is now in this day and age, because we've had multiple coaches that have still not filled up their schedule.
Oh yeah, we're going into mid-September here. It's just crazy. Everybody wants to wait till the transfer portal's done and see what the rosters are like. Eventually, you got to play somebody. In our league, it's a little different, I guess, because there's not going to be an at-large bid, and so you have to win the conference tournament. But hey, it's a nightmare. It hasn't gotten any easier. It's an analytics-driven thing right now, where most of the bigger schools are been told to avoid teams between like 120 and 180 in the net rating. Those teams don't really help you, and Steve and I's teams are going to fall in that area, and so it's just very, very difficult. And but you got to do what you got to do and get your team ready and use those difficult games that you have and prepare them for conference. And like Steve said, it's hard. I mean, if you're going to, you might lose some games, but you gotta have a resilient group, and you got to show some toughness. And Eastern Washington was a good example of that last year. They really struggled in the non-conference with all those bye games they had to play, and they got to conference and played really well. So, you still have to have a good team and be ready to play when conference play rolls around.
Right. And really all the season counts on nowadays in the mid majors and even high mid majors is that final weekend in March for you guys. I mean, that's all it comes down to.
The nature of it, it's what it is. And I think as coaches, the regular season championship is the one that probably makes us feel the best about ourselves, because you have to do it over several months, and the tournament's just a few days. But the reality is that your fans and media, they want you to win that tournament. Obviously we do too. And so you got to get your team ready for that.
Yep. So give me kind of before I ask some kind of quick hitters, what do you guys expect from the league? Some of these teams, I mean, Montana brings back probably one of the best names in the conference, Money Williams. Thank God he averaged almost 13.5 points. I'm surprised that Northern Arizona doesn't win it every year when you have the commissioner's son on the team. Oh, did I say that out loud? But they have another gentleman by the name of Oakland Fort. I mean, they got a team at the Lumberjacks too. What do you guys see in this year from the conference, just overall from some of these different teams? Maybe just kind of touch on each team or coach or what you guys think and see.
I guess I can start on that, but I think there's still quite a bit of parity. Now, there's been a couple jobs that have opened up, obviously with Eastern Washington with Coach Riley leaving. So with Dan Munson, who knows? I just don't know much about, kind of how they'll do things. And then with DP at Sac State leaving, they hired internally. So you'd assume maybe a similar system, but who knows? But there's a lot of parity, right? I mean, Coach Duff's been at Weber State for 49 years. This is, I'm going into my 9th year, only my 5th year as a head coach, but been here for quite a while. You look at, as Coach Duff mentioned, Travis DeCure. I mean, he's been at Montana as one of the winningest coaches, if not, I can't remember if he's 1 or 2, but one of the winningest coaches in the history of the Big Sky. Now with, Coach Logie at Montana State, they were good. They finished 5th, but they were good. And then they, end up winning the whole thing. And so you used to go all the way down, Coach Burkhardt, NAU, Coach Looney, Idaho State, and so forth and so on, that there's a lot of parity in the league. People ask me about the league. I think it's such a unique league now, because it used to be, when I started out here with Jeff Linder 8 or 9 years ago, it was just a shooters league. And that probably is generalizing it way too much. But the whole goal was like, how do we just limit threes at the expense of everything else, right? Just a bunch of shooters, the floor space. And now there's a lot of different styles. There are some more aggressive athletic pressing styles. Some teams are playing, non-traditional with 2 bigs. Some teams are playing a bunch of ball screens. But you'll see a lot of different styles in our league. That's what I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You play Portland State, and Portland State and Sac State are, travel partners in the last few years. They couldn't have been more opposite how they played. Sac State was going to play really slow and pack it in and be really physical. And Portland State was going to press you 94 feet most of the game and be athletic and space you out. So, and then you go down the league, and I think Steve's right. I think there are a lot of different styles. There's a lot of really good coaches in the league. It's just every night you step out there, you better have your team prepared, better play well, I think it has evolved over the years. I think part of that, the reason with that is that because of the transfer portal, because of guys losing some players in your program, you got to get the best players you can get and then kind of play from there. You can't just always recruit your system, maybe like you were able to 5, 6, 7 years ago. Now you got to try to get the best players you can and maybe tweak some things on how you want to play. To utilize your personnel the best. Mm-hmm. And so I think you even see some differences within teams from year to year.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the biggest thing with the transfer portal has given some players some opportunities. Like for you, Coach Smiley, you had Dalton Connect.
Yep.
Coach Duff, you had a gentleman by the name of Dylan Jones. The one kid I'm really kind of excited to watch just because he was top 10 in Division II scoring is a guy named Kai Johnson from Montana. And I think now with the opportunity, you're going to see more players, pop up that we never even talked about, right? It's just all these preseason rankings. And we could say the top 5 players in the first team for the Big Sky, and not one of them could be even on the third team. So it should be an interesting year in the Big Sky.
LT, you want to move into some quick hitters here?
Yeah, so we got some quick hitters because I know we're crunch for time here. All right, just first word that comes out of your mind, not 2 words, Coach Smiley, 1 word. And since Coach Duff, you can answer first, since you've been at Weber State for 49 years. You're looking good for being 89 years old.
19, but it's close. Yeah,
it's close. There's a 9 in there somewhere.
Yeah, it is. It is. All right, 1 word to describe the Big Sky.
Challenging.
Competitive.
Ooh, different answers. That's pretty good. Toughest place.
Are we both doing an answer? Like what?
Yeah, there's no, as you know us a little bit, Coach, there's no rhyme or reason, and there's no kind of protocol. So, toughest place to play in the toughest place to play in the conference.
Montana.
Well, that was easy.
What makes it so hard?
Good players and a good coach, and they get great fan support. But they've always got good players. Every time you go over there, they've got an all-conference guy or two. And Travis does a great job.
That crowd is awesome. They got a rowdy crowd, so for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Best conference official.
You're just lucky you didn't ask for the worst one.
All right. If it's easier, just say who the worst one is then.
Wait, who's our assigner this year, Coach Duff?
Yeah, I think I'll say this this isn't one word. This is got the political debate tonight, so I'll go into my political stance. But I do think we are able to get better officiating with the way the consortiums work out. And hey, I don't know if Steve thinks. I think it's exciting. We're going to get some Missouri Valley Conference officials in here from the Midwest, and I think that's always a really well officiated league, and so I'm excited about that.
You haven't watched any Missouri Valley games, have you, recently?
I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in Kansas, so hey, I know they let them play. I like that.
I know they do let them play. As long as you don't get any MAC officials, you're good.
Yeah.
The answer is consortium.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Consortium.
I can see it, but I can't.
We don't have any bad officials in the Big Sky. No. I don't know that we had a missed call last year in the games I coached.
Consortium.
I guess
great officials.
Yeah, which is funny because Coach Duff, you have one of the highest fouled players in two. He had average 3.1 fouls a game. So, tell me who the best dressed coach is in the Big Sky.
We all look the same now. We all wear even Travis came up to me because Travis was wearing a suit forever, and he finally said, "You guys got me. I'm back. I'm to quarter zips and pants."
Is anybody in the Big Sky still suiting up?
It's me. I mean, look at me, guys. I'm a fashion statement every time I walk out there.
I'd say my guy Jace Coburn. He's still got a little suit every now and then. He doesn't use the tie, but he'll do a little suit.
Yeah, he does.
Top button open. Maybe it's Coach Coburn.
Okay. Most animated coach on the sideline.
Jace Coburn.
Coach Coburn.
Okay, that's why he's maybe not wearing the suit as much, because he's got to get a little bit more loose. All right, the team that fouls the most in your conference.
Northern Colorado. No. The team that fouls the most. Oh, Portland State.
I said Coach Coburn.
But but that's kind of part of what they do.
Nope, you're wrong. I'll give you a second guess.
No, we're wrong.
You're wrong.
You didn't.
LT's asking statistics now.
So you're going deep in these stats.
Well, you were saying the team that fouls the most. You didn't say the ones where they called the most fouls on.
You're wrong, Luke.
All right, it's Montana State with 18.5 personal fouls per game. What team had the least?
The least amount of fouls?
Yeah, per game called.
Was it us? We were close.
Weber State 15.5. Coach Smiley, you were 8th at 16.8.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's surprising, Coach Duff, that you've got all these foreigners and you have so few fouls. Because I know I played a little ball back in the day, and I always played with foreigners, and they fouled the shit out of you.
Yeah, that's true. It's a physical game over there. That's true.
Yeah, no blood, no fouls. So, Sammy, let's lay him up for the first question, boss, or the last question.
Just going to turn it over to you guys. I mean, I'm really interested to hear any big surprises you guys are expecting from the Big Sky, whether it's a player or a team, anything that kind of the general public might not know about that you guys are kind of keeping your eye on.
Well, I would say Dan Munson's won a lot of games. He took his team to the NCAA tournament at Long Beach State. He's always had really good players. I know they lost most of their roster, and I think people are probably, wondering how good they'll be this year. But I think they'll be plenty good, and he'll do a great job with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would just say, because we just don't really know, just for the fans of the Big Sky, just to expect the unexpected. But that's every year. You go back last year, back to that tournament, I think the 1, 2, 3, and 4 teams got knocked out relatively early. And I know even for us, we were the 2 seed, and we watched Eastern Washington get knocked out by the 10 seed 20 minutes before our game. And we were on that bus about, 2 hours later going home as well, and it just kind of went from there. So I just think that it shows the parity in the league. It's a really good league. Seeding matters and things like that. But, man, there's a bunch of good teams, and there's a lot of parity. So just expect the unexpected. It's probably the safe way to go.
Yeah, the Big Sky, expect the unexpected.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, coaches, you're going to stay with us just 1 minute just so we can upload you guys. But, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it. We're really excited for Big Sky Hoops. There is going to be a lot of parity. There is going to be some great games. and we'll be following and covering it. And we appreciate you joining us on the Full Court Press podcast, a college basketball experience.
Thanks for having us, guys. That was a lot of fun.